Good afternoon, everybody. How is everyone's Sunday going? How was everybody's weekend? Feel like it's gone by pretty quickly, but nevertheless, we are back again. This is United versus Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and we are back. It feels like it's been forever, but we are back. Premier League football is back, and we are here to preview Manchester United's match against Forest this Tuesday. No more of this international friendly Nations League bull. This is real stuff. Real stuff now. Danny B already getting involved. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It's been raining here the last 24 hours or so. And my wife and I have just been busy painting today, so that's been fun. But we're just trying to get into that spring cleaning mode. So however you guys celebrate ushering in spring, let me know. The FA Cup quarterfinals kind of took center stage this weekend. Obviously, Palace played yesterday. Forest played yesterday. So it's Palace, Manchester City, Aston Villa, and Nottingham Forest. They've all advanced to the semifinals. So Palace will now play Aston Villa, and Forest will play City. Now, it's going to be an interesting match. So City were down 1-0 earlier in their match today against Bournemouth and then came back to win it 2-1. But who do you guys think will lift the FA Cup this year? Let me know. I'm gonna put a poll here in the chat here. Never mind. I'm not. Computer's messing up. Sorry. Yeah. Let me know who you guys think are gonna lift it this year. I'm torn. Right. We played Palace in the final almost 10 years ago. If I had to, I mean, anybody but City, really. We don't want City to win. Honestly, there's part of me that's like, I really want Forest to win it simply because I do think Nuno deserves something in this season, some form of silverware for what he's doing, especially if they somehow kind of dip out of that top 5, top 4 spot. I don't really care. Honestly, part of me is also a little greedy and wants Villa to win it, and I want Rashford to keep scoring goals. I think he scored a couple today, but because that just means more money for us from the loan. So we'll see. In any case, again, let me know your thoughts. Who you guys want to win the FA Cup this year? Who do you think will win the FA Cup this year? But in any case, we are out of the FA Cup. Forest are still in it, and we will meet them on Tuesday at the City Ground. And Forest are going to be buzzing, obviously, after their shootout victory against Brighton. So we're going to get into that. We're going to chat about the latest and greatest transfer news. So like the video, please. Subscribe to the channel if you are new and you want to help us on our way to 3K. And then just check out the memberships again to see how you guys can get involved in the content that we do put out on the channel, whether that's the scouting report, whether that's questions from a boot, which if you're not familiar with, I pull a little random question from the inside of my boot here and we go through it on the channel. And then, as you saw, we have a brand new series called What If, where I take key moments from Manchester United history and kind of imagine an alternate timeline where things went differently and how that would have played out. We did that first episode recently, so keep a lookout for more of those. But again, with membership perks, you can get involved. And I'll never say no if anyone wants to super chat or do a super tip with a suggestion for a scouting report or anything like that as well. Those will never go ignored. Of course, no pressure. Just always love getting people involved, but it does take a lot of time on my end to do so, making it worth my while. The women's team played Everton this morning and beat them 2-0. For anyone who caught that, it was on ESPN Plus. Janssen and Clinton scored those goals. I read too that if the women's team if they beat West Ham and then don't lose to City in their next matches, then the women's team will qualify for their Champions League next season. Well, so at least somebody will, right? But big up the women's team. It's doing it. Danny says, hopefully Villa or Forest, anyone but Cheetah. Yeah, Palace, I'm kind of like indifferent to. Obviously, anybody but City would be better for football. I just don't want it to be another trophy that potentially gets taken away and null. I think that if City are found guilty, you have to null and void a lot of those trophies that they won, which is just not fair to everybody else. But again, it is what it is. It would be a shame to see all those trophies and all those seasons nulled. So, but yeah, Palace, Forest. I think I'm leaning more towards Forest from a football standpoint, but then I'm also leaning towards Villa for a financial standpoint for us. So, yep, Danny, remember we talked yesterday. The United link to this little youngster. He plays for River Plate. Argentinian winger named Ian Subiare. He played last night. He came on as a sub, played 45 minutes, and he did grab himself a goal as well. I don't think he's as good as Mestan Tuono, but I think he has potential. But again, those were some tentative links at best, but we threw them out anyway yesterday. But yeah, Danny has got his ear to the ground when it comes to South American talent. Danny says Juan Jimenez didn't play though for Rosario. Didn't watch it though. Yeah, I don't get the channel. I was gonna maybe try to find some sort of a dodgy stream to watch it last night. I just end up getting tired. Another long day yesterday, long weekend. So just worn out, man. I made lasagna last night, and lasagna takes forever when you make it homemade. And then it ended up taking so long to cook. I almost had to cook it twice. But it's very involved, lasagna. But yeah, I did check the foot mob, and Jimenez did not play. But moving on to a bit of transfer news. So this is coming from journalist Nico Schauer. He reports that United had scouts in attendance for the Serie A match between Como and Empoli. Now, Schauer claims our scouts were watching Como winger Asana Diao, formerly of Real Betis. I used to sign this guy in my FC24 career mode when he was still at Real Betis. Como are kind of hoovering up a lot of talent these days. Under now, Cesc Fabregas is managing, obviously. They picked up Diao, obviously, in January. They picked up Kakare from Lyon earlier this year. Nico Paz is there right now. Sergi Roberto, remember that guy? And then I think Dele Alli is there too. They're picking up a lot of talent. I like Asane. Obviously, I used to sign him in my career mode. I've been keeping an eye on him for a few years. Still very young, very, very rapid, and very physical. He's not afraid to get stuck in. He's already scored 5 goals in 12 appearances since joining in January. But his tackles, again, he's got really good off the ball work. Tackles, clearances, aerial percentile ranks are all excellent for wingers. So he's very good. I think with the pace he has, I think I'd prefer to see him probably in a wingback role, or maybe he's an understudy. But he's playing at Como, so it's not like, again, I do feel like at some point players do want to play. And anyway, if we're looking at Como's players, Nico Paz would be my preference. That kid is magisterial, as somebody would say. Then he says not familiar with him. I was more familiar with him when he was at Real Betis. I haven't watched him a whole lot of Como, but Como, it's more about, I'm getting like Bologna, Thiago Motta vibes from Cesc Fabregas at Como. Apparently he's doing some very like refreshing things at Como. He's reinjecting a bit of that expression and that license to be creative into that Como side. I think football in general has become a little too robotic now, a little too rigid in its tactics and its structure, and I think that I like room for a little bit of that expression. Apparently that's what Fabregas is doing. So, but Nico Paz is doing a great job there, and obviously they just had Diao there for a couple months, but he's already doing much better than he's done at Real Betis. So maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, but apparently that's coming from Nico Schauer. Not a horrible link. Moving on to some other news that literally I just saw before I went live. So this is concerning Matheus Cunha, who's kind of upset the apple cart with his Wolves career here in a recent interview. Obviously, he got a new contract with a release clause. And I read this from Fabrizio Romano, who was quoting a journalist from The Guardian who reports that Cunha has kind of told him, like, and this is coming from Cunha here, I've made it clear that I need to take the next step. I want to fight for titles. Now, I know some of you want Cunha at United, and I'll be honest, if it weren't for his attitude problems this season, it'd be a no-brainer for me. I'd be all over it. I think he solves a lot of problems in one of those kind of second striker roles behind the number 9. He can also play number 9 if he needs to as well. If it weren't for the attitude problems, I'd be all over it, right? But hey, people can change, though. I wouldn't have a job if that weren't true. I wouldn't be opposed to it if he shapes up. But the problem there is not just me having an issue with some of his attitude problems. It's the fact that we know that Amorim doesn't like those kind of personalities in the dressing room. That's one of the first things he does, is he looks at these personalities who are just a little too much to manage, and he's like, I just don't even want to bother with that. Big wages, big personalities, big egos, thinking that maybe you don't have to try as hard or whatever if you can't be relied upon. It is what it is. We've had our fair share of temperamental players over the years. Obviously, you guys have mentioned Cantona. Roy Keane would be up there. Scholesy probably would be up there as well, in terms of just players who would go off on someone real quickly. So, um, but hey, I mean, we can't do the release clause. So the question is, can you do better than Cunha for the same price? Because you're gonna have to pay a little more than the release clause to get him. We can't just drop 60 mil up front. That's not going to happen. Can you get better player for more than that, or maybe even a little less than that? That doesn't have a release clause is the question. But if you pay a little more, amortize the fee like you did with Xerxes, it wouldn't be the worst thing. But Danny says, I think City or Arsenal will get him. And yeah, it's interesting stuff. I mean, he said he wants to challenge for things. I mean, that could be, I could see him maybe going, I mean, depending on where Villa finish, maybe, I don't know. But I don't know if he's quite good enough for City. I don't think I don't think he's that good. I think he's doing very, very well, but who knows? I mean, it's not up to me, right? But um, Danny says, I would prefer Mbeumo, team player, versatile, excellent set piece, and cost less. Yeah, again, that's what I was just saying. If there's someone who would be better, who would be cost less, obviously the Premier League experience is a factor for a lot of people, both of whom Mbeumo and Cunha have Premier League experience. So it's just, I think they're both roughly the same age too. So Cunha's got the versatility, plays a 10 as a striker, and Mbuemo's got versatility. He can probably play all three, 10 striker and wing back too as well. So this is how you get creative, and so we have PSR to deal with. We've got players we need to get off the books. We've got a couple different positions. It's a matter of prioritizing, a matter of being creative, and a matter of, I would say, also looking at, wheeling and dealing in the free market, the free agent market as well. So, Jay, welcome. How are you doing? It says most likely Arsenal. I'm not sure about City, but you never say never. Yeah, Arsenal need goal scorers for sure. Honestly, Arsenal could do a lot worse than Chris Wood right now. The guy's like fourth in the league for goals, but Arsenal do need goals. They're struggling. And this is what happens when you start. Arteta's got this thing where he's doing the same exact thing that Pep used to do. Pep, every single year, Pep would change it up, and then the whole tactics would be centered around kind of one element. One year it was tiki-taka. The next year it was tactical fouls, things like that. And so we're seeing Arteta do the same thing, except he's just doing it in the worst way. Like, oh, we're going to do two keepers and we're going to do this and that. We're going to do set pieces. We're going to crowd the keeper. Like, how about just play good football and, the results will follow. You can't sustain on set pieces, especially when you don't have a striker. You had a couple people early on who were getting involved, but when they hit a poor form, who's going to bear that responsibility? Because Havertz wasn't doing it, Jesus wasn't doing it, and you can't just shove Moreno in a 9 role and expect him to do that job. It's just not how it works. So we will see. But Danny agrees with you, Jay. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Cunha. He might have somebody who's already interested. I mean, why else would you say these kind of things? But obviously, Wolves are locking down their interests, which is why they've got that release clause. I'm sure they will dig their heels in as well. So going to be a lot of interesting moves this summer. A lot of clubs need strikers. A lot of clubs are looking at strikers. A lot of clubs need a lot of different players. So I think this is going to be a very, very exciting summer. So I'm excited to follow it along. I'm excited to get your guys' thoughts on the whole summer window when things kick off. Jay says, if we get Xavi Simons and then Trincao, I don't think there'd be a need for Cunha. If we get Xavi Simons, oh, he's too expensive. I love Xavi Simons. He's just too expensive. He's going to cost you like 80-something mil. That's very expensive. He's such a good player, Xavi Simons, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. Trincao, we've spoken about Trincao a couple times now. We'll see what happens. Again, it is a role that we're looking for. I'm just not convinced with Trincao, honestly. I think that he didn't really thrill me when he was at Wolves. Again, he seems like another player where the Premier League is just not quite his level. So it is what it is. Jay says, but it solely depends on their valuation. Yeah, Xavi Simons is crazy. Recap Sports, good to see you again. How are you? It's been a minute. Good to see you, man. Wow, everyone's jumping on. Love it. Is that Rich? How you doing, Rich? Good to see you, man. Hope everything is going well. And of course, Dark Crow. Everybody's jumping in. I love to see it. It's good to hang out with the old wrecking crew here on the weekend. Big up, everybody. We're just wrapping up a little bit of transfer news. Cunha links, Asana Diao links at Sporting. Big up the women's team, and then we kind of recap the FA Cup action from this weekend. So, but yeah, get your picks in. Who you want to win the FA Cup? Who you think will win the FA Cup? You can't just say anyone but City because that's what I said. Don't take my answer. We don't support cheating here on United versus everybody. Pick up everybody. All right, let's move on to this match. I'm learning that the match previews don't need to be as involved as they usually are. We've played some of these teams enough now to where you kind of know what you're getting. So that's why today we've combined a lot of the transfer news in there. But we play Forest on Tuesday because we made room for a lot of FA Cup action. I saw some content creators whining about playing matches midweek this week. 'Cause again, I'm. This isn't me saying I'm better. I just even before I had this channel, I always just it boggled my mind just the entitlement of some content creators, of some fans, when it comes to stuff like that. We're entitled to statements from the club. We're entitled to know what's going on with injured players. We're entitled to like why are they playing this Premier League on the weekend or on the Tuesday and not on the weekend? Like this just all whining me entitlement, and it just does my head in sometimes. But y'all could probably guess who I'm talking about. But anyway, Forest, we traveled to the City Ground on Tuesday. They advanced to the FA Cup quarterfinal this weekend. They beat Brighton, but it did end up going to pens after neither side managed to find the back of the net for 120 minutes. They were actually on a pretty decent little run of form heading into the international break. 3 wins on the bounce after priorly getting back-to-back losses to Fulham and then Newcastle, and then struggling to a 0-0 draw with Arsenal. So they're kind of struggling to find the back of the net, really, if you look at it. They didn't score over regular time or extra time, and then they didn't score at all against Arsenal heading into the break. So a little bit of significance there in terms of this match. So overall, though, again, you can't deny Forest are having an excellent season. They are third right now. They are 5 points ahead of fourth place Chelsea. So, but United, we're no slouches. We've been on a decent run of form, though, despite being way down at the bottom table. 1-1 draw against Arsenal, back-to-back wins heading into the break, including that big 4-1 result against Sociedad at home to progress to the next round of Europa League. I mean, we're on a little decent turnaround. We've actually scored 7 in our last 2 matches, thanks to Bruno, really. He had 4 goals, 2 assists in those. He also had a hat trick against Sociedad. So Bruno is just carrying this team on his back right now. But in any case, both teams are going to be riding a little bit of momentum. So it is going to be a bit of an exciting match. I, for one, am looking forward to it. As we've discussed a couple times, Forest do rely on being compact, being hard to break down in defense, and then quick transitions to get on the attack. They want to attack as soon as they win the ball. But this isn't just a park the bus, counterattack, Oli Mourinho kind of style. Instead of parking the bus in their box, they employ a midfield block. They want to win the ball higher up the pitch in order to regain possession higher up the pitch and then transition. It's not counterattack from deep, it's transition no matter where you win the ball. Nuno has also utilized this tactic of setting these pressing traps to win the ball back in those advanced positions, forcing people wide, try to win those ball, and then get the ball into the box. They're good at it, too. Forest have 2 players in the top 10 in the Premier League right now for possession 1 in the final third. Awoniyi is like 3rd in the league for that, and then Sosa is 10th. So they're very, very good at it. I think Bournemouth are the only team who have more than 1 player in the top 10 for that. They've got pace on the wings, obviously, and they do have an aerial threat, especially on those set pieces. They are I think like 3rd in the league for set piece goals. So they do offer a threat. Obviously, we remember that from Milinkovic and his giant head scoring against us. They will likely be without, like I mentioned earlier, Chris Wood, their top scorer. He is 4th in the league right now on 18 goals. He picked up a little bit of a hip injury with New Zealand on international duty, so they could likely be without him. So we will see. And they are struggling for goals right now. So Darko says, sorry, off topic. Which club is the best one when it comes to communicating with their fans? That's the thing, though, Darko. It's like there are content creators, there are fans who demand statements. And I'm like, what club does that? What owners openly share their, strategies and their plans and stuff with fans on the kind of regular basis that some fans demand? So far, Sir Jim has been 100 times more communicative with his interviews and his statements and his openness. And so is like Barada has done that. I mean, and compared to what we've been subjected to for the better part of 20 years, it's night and day difference. I think the problem with Sir Jim is that a lot of what he's been saying and doing has been also not been what United fans want. So I think that's where you get him. But everybody just, some people can't be satisfied. So It is what it is. But I don't know, man, because I don't follow intensely other clubs when it comes to stuff like that. Darko, I can only speak on United, but again, the question is, what clubs do that? What clubs are that open and transparent with some of that stuff? I mean, not many clubs are, and that's the point. Recap says, I think we will beat Forest. Things are clicking. Things are starting to click. They are starting to click, but that's what we're chatting. So as far as us, so again, Forest, look out for high presses, look out for quick transitions, and we need to figure out how to unlock a compact, stubborn defense because they do make themselves hard to break down. Feels good to be back to match previews, doesn't it? Feels good to think that in a couple of days we're going to play a match. So I hate international break. We need someone other than Bruno to step up, though, especially if we have any hopes of climbing out of 13th, getting anywhere near the top half of the table. We're not getting anywhere near 8th, 9th, 7th place, but we do need to try to put together some wins. We just can't seem to do that in the league. We like you're saying though, recaps, we are clicking right now. Højlund went into the break on a good run of form, scored for Denmark as well in a win over Portugal. I told you guys, once he gets over that mental hump and he starts getting involved, the goals will come from him. We need to win this midfield battle. We need to avoid getting caught in those pressing traps, that midfield block. So we need to move the ball quickly. We need to move the ball cleanly, and we need to stop taking forever on this build up. I'm not saying just launch it, even though we've seen that more from Onana recently, but we have players who can carry the ball now, like Dorgu. We have players who can progress the ball from deep positions, like Bruno. We have players like Xerxes who can progress the ball with their feet if they need to. I wish that Ahmad was back. I really do. It is what it is. But we'll need that. We'll need Dallo and Dorgu to have a really good match because the way that they get forward for us, we're going to have to be mindful of their wide players, which also means our outside center backs need to keep an eye on not only those runs, but also late runs from midfield from guys like Gibbs White and whatnot, because there's a lot of movement. They get a lot of numbers in those boxes. They get a lot of staggered runs to get on the end of things. So we need to be mindful of that. Dorgu's energy will help. He is back after serving his suspension, but I need him to do better with his crosses when he gets into those advanced positions. His crosses are garbage. And then only as long as Onana doesn't just sit on his ass and let another soft, long-range effort from Gibbs White kind of trickle into the net like he did last time out, we might have a decent chance at this. And then again, because Forest is so good at set-piece goals, we have to do better at clearing a danger. We've been a little better. Remember that period where we were like the worst for conceding on set-piece goals. We have to do better. Just clear the danger. Hopefully Maguire's maybe getting back to fitness, but we'll talk about that. Let's see what everyone. Neil, welcome back, Neil. Good to see you again. It's been a minute. Hope you guys are enjoying the weekend. Yeah, get your thoughts in on the FA Cup. Who do you think is going to win it? Who would you like to see win it? Darko says, will the FA Cup game have any effect on Forest on Tuesday? That's a good question. I mean, they will be buzzing obviously after winning, but they have played more recently than us. So fitness wise, it could play a role. We've had a lot more rest. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's bad. Sometimes too much rest can be a bad thing. So what that means is Forest are match fit, but they've also, just played before us. So it depends. You never know. It depends entirely on the team. Because let's say if they lost and they were knocked out, they could be looking for a bounce back, right? That could motivate them to bounce back to get back from that. But now they're buzzing. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you, man. What do you think? Do you think that they'll be up for it? Do you think that'll make them harder to beat, easier to beat? Do you think it helps our chances? I think it has more to do with us than anything. I prefer to look at how we're playing, our form, our fitness, all that, other than relying on the other team, if that makes sense. It's the same with like points in the table. I don't like relying on other teams dropping points. Like, it's in our hands. We have to do that. Nobody should be taking care of us. We shouldn't be relying. We should be making sure we're taking care of ourselves in that regard, if that makes sense. But Arco's got some good questions today. Big up, man. Danny says, hit that like button. Yes, please do hit that like button. We are on the road to 3K as well. Subscribe if you are new. Darko says, did clicking also mean our players are improving individually? I think some of them are coming into good form at a good time. Obviously, Bruno is in the form of his life. Højlund's starting to get in on the goals as well. Xerxes had a really good month or so since being booed off the park against, was that Newcastle or something? So things are clicking. We do have some injured players that are coming back as well. So on that note, who is back? Dorgu is back, so he's no longer suspended. after that BS red card. Euro has openly stated like he's fit. He's not in any pain. He feels ready to play, so that's good. It's probably still too early for Manu, like we discussed yesterday. He's just now on individual training on grass. Probably could see Shaw make it to the bench for this one. He could be joined too by a couple of youngsters who've been training with the first team while they've got some first professional contract talks going on, and those including guys like Montato, Kukonki, Thwaites as well. Probably has been training with the first team. Reese Monroe has been training with the first team. Fredrickson's already been in and around the first team. So could be an interesting bench, but we are getting a lot of first team players back fit too. I think there's also a strong chance, if you saw the thumbnail, that Mason Mount could actually get some minutes on Tuesday. Obviously, he was on the bench for the Leicester match before we went into the international break. He wasn't played, but he's had another 2 weeks to, again, train, get fit. I think we could actually see him. Amorim loves Mason Mount. And same with Luke Shaw. A fit and firing Mason Mount is really good in this system, really good for the team. But we just haven't ever seen it in a United shirt. But who do you guys think will be in the starting 11? Let me readjust here. My back's killing me. Darko says, or is the system starting? Where it could be both and, man. It could be both and. Amorim didn't really have a whole lot of training when he first got here. Now that he's had more training, more time, we're seeing the system click. We're seeing players come into form. It's hard to tell which is coming first. But that's why I say it's both and. It's hard to tell. Box, big up, man. How are you doing today? Hope you're enjoying your weekend. We're just chatting a little bit about this match. Let me know what you guys think's going on in the starting 11. I think we're probably going to see the same old Onana, Mazraoui, De Ligt, Yoro, Dorgu, and Dallo on the right. Bruno Ugarte in the pivot, Garnacho, Xerxes, Hoyland, all in that front three. And then we'll see some changes maybe later on, depending on how the match goes. I think that the way that Bruno is in form, hopefully the international break didn't throw us off too much because we were on a really good spell. I liked what I saw from a lot of the players. Hopefully Dorgu has been maintaining that fitness as well, despite being suspended. Danny B says, you think Bruno links to Madrid are legit? I do not, because if you follow the links, they originally come from Fekayes, which is just, I've learned over the course of this season, it's just not a good source for any news at all, any rumors. Not a good source at all. So I don't think Madrid have money. I really don't. They've been looking at nothing but free agents for a little while now. Bellingham was their last big signing. Before that, they've got Alaba on a free. They got Rudiger on a free. They're about to get Trent on a free. I don't think they have the money to do that. Mbappe, yes, he was a free agent, but there's a difference between being available on a free and being and costing nothing. You're always going to, like, especially Mbappe, the signing bonus that he's going to get, the wages that he's on, like, that's crazy. So I don't think that that's going to work. But yes, I don't think the original links are legit, but that's just my opinion on the source itself, but it is what it is. Yeah, it's coming from the Express, and then if you follow those links, they're coming from Fekayes, and it's just not, they're just not a good thing. So Box says, Madrid spending 90 mil on a 30-year-old doesn't seem like a Perez move. More likely he wants Fernandes as a free agent. I mean, if somebody offered 90 mil for Bruno, it'd be hard to turn down, personally. I love Bruno, but the club's got to come first. And right now, that money could go a long way towards helping us because it's almost double what we spent on him. Darko says, who benefits the most from links when the transfer window is closed? Well, it depends. If it's some rando source. I mean, we've seen literally no-name sources that started off with, like, on Twitter with a couple hundred followers, literally a million times increase their following with some random, like, rumors and random reports that they put out. A lot of people, I mean, depending on the player and stuff, if it's a player entering the final year of their contract, maybe they want a new contract. Our name has been linked to players over and over. Like, look at Sergio Ramos a long time ago. Everything. It just depends on the situation. The source could make money. It is what it is. I don't think United would benefit from this either, unless Bruno has said he doesn't want to be here, and then we're trying to shop him around. But again, it's hard to tell. I always look at the source if I can find the original source, or depending on where it's coming from, just because that to me says a lot. I got to start with the source, and then depending on the source, that could be the end of my interest in the rumor, or it could be the next step in the interest. It just depends. But but yeah, like Bach's saying, sometimes the media will benefit from it. They'll get clicks, all that stuff. If you notice, Darko, our name is used in so many different rumors, whether it has anything to do with us or not. We're constantly linked to something, even if we have nothing to do with it. In the actual body of the article, our name will be tacked on at the end as like we're reportedly interested. But our name was in that same article. Our name is used in the headline because that's what draws clicks. That's just the way it works when you're United. Yeah, Bach says agents too. Yeah, agents could do it. I wouldn't push it past someone like Raiola or whatnot when he was still here. Yeah, Danny says the media. Yeah, it just depends on the situation. Like so many things, the player, the contracts, all that stuff. Darko says the clubs. Yeah, sometimes the clubs could benefit. I think too that fans, they need to sometimes check their biases and their agendas at the door. I think it's too easy sometimes for us to read a report that we don't like, that we don't agree with, and call it, spin or agenda or whatnot. I try to be objective as I can, and that's why I'm trying to make sure I'm starting to figure out what sources I can rely upon and not. Like anytime, if I go to click on a Team Talk report and the only source is Team Talk understands, like there was a thing in the MEN today, and Samuel Luckhurst wrote it, so automatically I'm already looking at it with a little bit of skepticism. But then there's literally no substantiate like backing up of anything that he claimed. I forget what it was about, but I'm like, this is just ridiculous, man. You're just making stuff up now. Bach says Cunha coming out saying he wants to leave is poor, in my opinion, especially with Wolves in a relegation battle. Yeah, we spoke about that a little earlier. I know a lot of people like him. I wasn't too sold on him with his attitude problems this year, but people can change, like I said, but we'll see. I think he does tick a lot of boxes for what we're looking for. We're not going to pay a release clause because we don't have that kind of cash floating around, because you have to pay all of it. But we'll see. Again, like Danny B says, and Buemo's out there. And my question is there someone better for cheaper or the same price that you could maybe look at? That's what you're going to have to look at this summer. Fox says some football fans love any old BS transfer rumor. It gives them something to talk about. It gives content creators something to talk about. It gives ESPN, Sirius. I mean, this is why I'm like, I don't even listen or watch a lot of the stuff anymore, because the amount, and it makes me sound a little judgmental and a little arrogant. I'm not trying to, but it's like the amount of content creators or even like pundits and commentators even that I respect, that I got time for, who will buy into just any rumor. Like if I'm watching like Football Terrace and there's a panel and somebody's literally going off on this diatribe based on nothing but a rumor. I've seen content creators do this for years. We've got rumors and then they'll spend the whole stream basically bashing a player or a club or an owner or whoever based on the rumor, and it's whipping up everybody watching them into a frenzy. If that's what you're into, you might want to not stick around, because that's just not what I do. But it's just interesting to me, the little bunny trails that people go down with a rumor, and they act as if it's real. So it is what it is. I'm probably super, super boring in that regard, but I respect you guys too much to do that kind of stuff. It's not the kind of conversations I have when it comes to football. So I know it's what's popular. I know it's what people like to watch. It's just, I'd rather just be me and respect you guys and have intelligent conversations than sit here and whine and rage about rumors. But I do appreciate that, Box. Thank you. But yeah, it is transfer. We do have a lot of, we do like a bit of transfer. I think right now at United, because things have been so bad, because so many of our players are so poor, because we're in a season of change, new manager, new system, new owners, and a lot of us, yes, I think Ineos do have a lot of work to do to get the fans back on side after such a bad season from a optics PR standpoint, right? I think that a lot of it is expectation, and then a lot of it is need. We need new players. We need to get rid of players, and we expect it because you have to back Ruben Amorim if you're going to bring him in. It's one thing to bring in someone who played the exact same system, but it's another to go out of your way to give an ultimatum to a manager who plays an entirely different system, and you know that he needs a certain type of player, not from a positional standpoint either, just from a mentality standpoint and a fitness standpoint, and then to not back him. We did a good job in January. I think Aiden Heaven and Patrick Dorgu were excellent buys. The summer, I think that what we paid for Mezraoui and Delit was an absolute steal. Ugarte, we probably overpaid a little bit for Ugarte, but I like Ugarte, so I'm not going to complain about it. But we have to be smart. You guys know I did that summer rebuild video on a budget, and I got 6 players in for like 130 million. It's not hard to do. It really isn't. And none of those players were going to be on more than like 100K a week wage wise. It's really not hard. And I expect a lot from this team. They spent a lot of money getting rid of Dan Ashworth and Ten Hag. They spent a lot of time putting together this whole crew. They're supposedly best in class. So if you're going to put out that claim, you have to like put your money where your mouth is. So be aggressive, be proactive, start this rebuild now, get players out, get players in, get Amorim a fair amount of players before we go on this preseason tour so he's got time to train with them. And let's start the season on a positive note. Like I said the other day, I know there's this whole thing from Sir Jim, we'd rather walk to the right decision than run to the wrong, but you can also run to the right decision too. Like if you know the right decision is there, why are you just run to it, get it done? It's annoying. Let's see what else we got here. Robert Reed, big up, man. What up, peeps? Says, no, Sean, you are right on. The never-ending Bale to United links. Tired of shows like that. Yeah. I do. I mean, there's a lot of rumors we'll talk about, and I'll bring them up. If you know, I won't talk about some stuff that you might see on other channels. And again, it sounds like I think I'm better than that. I just try to, I read more than the headline. I read more than the tweet, and I'll actually read the articles. I've even like signed up for temporary accounts at like Dutch outlets. Like when Ten Hag did his interview with that Dutch outlet a long time ago, there were so many accounts that were just posting like blurbs. I actually got the temporary subscription. I translated the whole thing and read through the entire thing. The same with Rene Haka, because I care more about context. It's easy to take a sentence out of something and blow it out of proportion. We've seen that how many times? Like read the whole thing. But big up, Robert. Good to see you again. Box says, how many players have we actually been linked to since the end of January window? Probably approaching 100. I mean, we could do a whole stream on the players that we've been linked to for the last couple decades. You know, Wesley Sneijder, Nico Gaitan. Remember that guy? I've got more what ifs in the chamber. I got to spread those out, though. I can't do too many of those too soon. But I got another what if next in line that has to do with a player that we almost signed almost a little more than 20 years ago. And I go down that whole alternate timeline of what if we had signed this player and not another player that summer, and what that would have looked like. So those are the what ifs. I've got so many. I've got a big one coming up for that soon. You guys can probably guess what that one entails, but I'm having fun with those. I hope you guys are too. Robert Reed says, every one of the strikers moving in 10s moving, so like 500. Yeah, pretty much. Every 10. Anyone who's played 10 or wing back, we've been linked to. RSV, big up, man. Are you enjoying this rainy weather we are having? Big up. Good to see you again. Hopefully Forest knocks City out in the FA Cup. I would love to see Forest knock City out. I'd love to see us beat Forest, but that's where we come to get your predictions in, because a win on Tuesday could see us jump to 12th temporarily, but you kind of have to think Palace will beat Southampton, which will ultimately keep us in 13th place. I don't know if we're ever climbing anywhere near 10th. We just left it a little too late. Story of our season, right? But a win on Tuesday could put some distance between us and Spurs, who are below us, because Spurs do play Chelsea, and could go back and forth on how that one looks. Forest, though, haven't lost at home since November, but we also have El Bruno, so could go either way. What are your score predictions? I'm going to go 1-1. I think Bruno is going to get a goal, and I do think that we will get done on a set piece by Milinkovic, because that's just our MO. But you guys let me know what your score predictions are. Let me jump back into the chat here. Box says, Mbappe. Yes, I do remember Mbappe. The Neymar ones, wasn't that another Louis van Gaal? Like, that was so surprising to me when we had all those Neymar rumors, because it just seemed like the opposite of a Louis van Gaal player. But the Bale rumors, Bale was a legitimate target for us, I think, under Moyes. So was Fabregas, Toni Kroos. Imagine that, a Bale, Fabregas, Toni Kroos system. That would be unstoppable. I've got some of the what ifs have to do with transfer targets. Some of them have to do with match outcomes and things like that. So Manlu Tata, good to see you again. Sean, what more should you be doing to attract more subscribers? I don't know, man. You tell me. You tell me what brought you here. You tell me what kept you here. You tell me what I should do. And I think for me, and this is why I try to make sure you guys get a say in your all your chats or whatever. I think for me, the difference is when channels go from being like small, like mine, to being big, and it just feels like your voice kind of gets lost. And now it's impossible for channels, big channels especially, to read every single chat. I get it. It is what it is. But I'm here not because I want to just throw my opinion out there and that's it. I'm here because I want to have a conversation. It might sound hard to believe, but these conversations are what I talk about most of the week with like Justin or Dylan or anybody at Detroit Red Devils, or when I go to Bill's house and he cooks up some fire food for everybody. It's all just football talk. Um, and so I enjoy the chat, perspective, right? And that's the big part of it. Bando Mac, welcome in. Everybody's jumping back in. Good to see you again, Bando Mac. So I predicted 1-1 on Tuesday. Forest are struggling to find goals. I think that I can't see. It's just hard. I mean, obviously we scored 4-1 against Forest. We scored 3 against Leicester. And maybe it could go either way, but Forest seem to have our number these days. So Box is going 2-1. United, big up, Box. I like the positivity. Neil says anyone but City for the FA Cup. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Again, I'd like to see Forest win it because I do think Nuno deserves it. But then if Villa win it and Rashford keeps scoring goals like he did this weekend, we'll get more money from that loan. So Bandomax is 20 years ago. I can guess one name. You might be able to guess. Bit of a hint. So, but I've got a couple of those locked and loaded here. RSV says we could have signed Mane and KDB under LVG, who said he wanted the board, and Ed Woodward said no. Yeah, Sadio Mane would have been tremendous for us. I think he was such a good player. I forgot about Sadio Mane. RSV says because Ed Woodward didn't view them as commercial assets for the business side of things. Well, there's a reason Ed Woodward's not here anymore because it was horrible at his job. Honestly, he did get thrown under the bus for that Super League stuff, but he was the United representative at those secret Super League meetings about 5 years before the announcement took place. So Bano says more clickbait and drama. Is that how I'm going to get more subscribers, more clickbait? I can make the thumbnails more clickbaity if you want to. I could start throwing stuff. I could start smashing things and screaming and yelling. Maybe the hard part, I'd love to get more people, like when Dylan shows up, or like when Justin, or like when Joel was here. I'd love to do more of that. It's so hard to coordinate schedules, especially when people have kids and stuff. Like I try to be respectful, and like I've told Dylan, like I'm so appreciative of like Dylan and everyone who's jumped on, Justin and Joel as well. But it's always an invitation for me. I don't ever want to feel like there's pressure on. I try to tell them, hey, these are some of the videos I've got coming up. If you want to join in, let me know. We'll fit it in. Thankfully now we can do it virtually with this new platform, so that does make it a little easier. But it's just hard to coordinate. I'd love to have more panelists, more multiple people on the stream and stuff. So in the summer, it is a little easier. And obviously, we'll come back in the summer. We'll do a season award show like we did last summer, goal, match, player of the season, referee decision, all that stuff. We'll do more of that stuff in the summer as well. And then obviously when the transfer window closes, we'll rate the transfer window, the usual stuff. But I am looking forward to the award show again. I do like that one. Robert reads, Mason Mount brace injures the other hamstring, out for season. United 2, Forest no. Yikes. The sad thing is I can actually see that happening, Robert. RSV says, Mourinho wanted Van Dijk, Alderweireld, Fabinho, and Ruben Dias. Yes, the Ruben Dias one bothers me because we wanted Ruben Dias and then we got Harry Maguire. And I'm not trying to bash Harry Maguire, but I think, and then we got Lindelof too, which again came from Benfica, same as Ruben Dias. So I wouldn't have minded Maguire if we got him when he was at Hull and we didn't wait till he was at Leicester. But it is what it is. I wish I could go back in time sometimes and do that. Banamex says, yes, some of the other channels' thumbnails are getting ridiculous. I mean, I try not to. And like I said, if it comes at the expense of me coming off as boring, I'd rather be a small channel and actually have good conversations than just be a big one who just relies on clickbait and drama or being fake or using a fake name. But it is what it is. Again, it comes across like I think I'm better. I'm not. I just try to be real. But Fox says them thumbnails are terrible where you have someone pulling up a stupid face. Yeah. Yeah, or like when they put the eyes. I think I did the eye thing once, but I think that was when I did a video where I did like a little mini review slash warning of FC25 when it came out because there were so many bugs. So I put the cover of the game and I put little googly eyes over. I think it was Bellingham on the cover because the game was so bad. It's better now, but it's not great. RV says Mourinho also wanted Pogba. I don't know. Did Mourinho want Pogba? I always question that one because he doesn't seem like a Mourinho player. And Martial, and he wanted to replace that horrible defense, but Woodward say no. As far as I remember, Mourinho wanted to get rid of a lot of players, including Pogba, and it just didn't work out. We know that Martial, I think, was on the list as well, but the Glazers, for some reason, love Martial. Really weird. Yeah, like Box says, Mourinho said Martial wasn't good enough. And then, yeah, he did fall out with Pogba. And then Shaw, I don't think Mourinho liked Luke Shaw very much either, but I know that you guys a lot of you probably felt the same. Oh no, big up RSV. Yeah, no, you're good. No problem, man. Let me get caught up here. Robert Reed says the channel is fun and interactive. I appreciate that, Robert. I try. Again, I just kind of throw the topics out and I try to get your guys' thoughts. I want to make sure everybody gets their thoughts thrown in, but I do appreciate that. Again, please like the video and subscribe if you are new and you like having your opinion heard, you like having a voice. If you want to have more of a say, like I said, check the memberships. And then if you have suggestions for things like what ifs and stuff, and you don't want to commit to the membership, but you want to still get, you can also throw it in a chat or a super tip or whatever. That'll get you in that well. So Box says, them channels with titles like Major World Star returning, and it's like Tom Heaton back in training. Yeah, like Premier League winner returning to the squad or something. No, I hear it. That, I mean, there is an element of, I guess I don't want to call it clickbait, but there's an element of like, I guess, engagement with my thumbnails. Like yesterday's, like when I said Yashari downloading with a question mark. It's more of a like, could this happen? Could it not happen kind of thing. So maybe that's clickbaity to an extent. I don't like to call it. Maybe just it makes me feel better to not call it clickbait. But I trust you guys to let me know if anything I put down in the thumbnail is clickbaity or stupid. But that is going to do it for me. Again, get your score predictions in. Like I said, I'm going 1-1. Somebody threw out 2-1 in there earlier. I don't remember who that was. Box says 2-1 United. Somebody threw out a 2-0, but I think it was a joke because they had Mason Mount getting the brace, and I think that in itself is a joke. Box, probably with the chat of the night, man. I appreciate that so much, dude. Your channel, he says, your channel is one of the realest out there, dude. That's awesome, man. I do appreciate that. I'm just like I said, I'm probably boring, but I try to just be authentic. And if I'm authentic and that means I'm boring, then that is what it is. But I appreciate that, man. Sanjay says, welcome, Sanjay. Good to see you on the stream, man. We're just about wrapping up, though, but big up, Sanjay. Box, who is the Como forward? It was Asana Diao who just joined them from Real Betis in January. He's already got 5 goals and 12 appearances for them, so doing very well. But we've also seen Anthony go to Real Betis and do very well as well. So, but I've been watching Diao for a couple of years now. Very pacey, good young winger. But yeah, we're linked. I think it was Nico Schar who threw that link out there. If there's a Como player that I would want, it would be Nico Paz, but I don't think that's going to happen. Composed View, welcome back. Good to see you again. He shares my prediction 1-1. Yeah, Forest are struggling to score, and then we're just who we are this season. So I think we're going to struggle a little bit, but again, who knows? I think the biggest reason why I'm saying that is just the international break and how it kind of threw off the momentum that we were building and the form that we were in. So who knows? Bruno could come right back in and score another hat trick for all I know, and I could just be completely wrong. I'd be happy to be wrong in that regard, but you never know. But that's going to do it for me, guys. I got to get back to painting and whatnot because that's what spring means around here. New furniture, new paints. We haven't really updated a whole lot in the last 7-8 years, so felt like a good time. But thank you guys for joining me. And thank you again for the kind words and the compliments on the channel. It's good to hear that. It's not why I do it, but it is good to hear that. But yeah, get involved again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Keep a lookout for any more videos that might drop sometime soon. And then check the memberships if you guys want to get involved in a lot of the content that we're putting out. We got the what ifs, the questions from a boot, the scout reports. I meant to do a scout report today. I just ran out of time to do the research. So keep a lookout for that on the next one. Don't let me forget. And then I will see you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and the start of your week. Talk to you later.